Alright, today we're looking at the applications to a couple of concepts that we have learnt so far. So starting with exponential growth and decay, which will follow this format of the population, normally is what we deal with, equaling whatever the initial value is, multiplied by some increase and decrease. So that might be like a 5% increase expressed like this, or maybe 5% decrease that looks like this, to the power of time. And another one that we'll be looking at, we're thinking all the way back to our finance topic where we covered the formula or the format that we use when we set up a compound interest equation, where the value of our investment equals however we put in at the start, so the original investment amount, multiplied by 1 plus the interest rate, which is the R, to the power of n, which is the number of compounding periods. So however many times the interest rate is being charged. All right, let's jump to some examples. So starting with exponential growth, this one, we're dealing with starting value of 1,000, as you can see here, and our number's doubling. So you can see the 2 here indicating that it's doubling every time. And our t is given in hours. So that's the context of this question. And for part A, we're asked to find how many there are in 24 hours. So in 24 hours, we just want to know, starting with 1,000, doubling every hour, what is it in 24 hours? And you can put this into your CAS. And this is a really big value. As you can imagine, 2 to the power 24 is really big. And it's 168 if we round to 3 significant figures, and there's going to be a lot of zeros. So I'm just going to put this as a scientific notation to save us some time. So this is the value that we have, and the next part asks us to find how long it takes. So we are looking for our t here. How long is t? But we are given our n. There are 1 million to deal 1 million at the end of some time. So 1 million, I'm just going to write it as 10 to the power 6 equals, we're starting with 1,000, we're doubling every time, we just don't know how many times. Now, best way to do this is to use the CAS. Solve for t on the CAS. And it will give you the answer right away, which will be 9.97. So make sure you try this one out on the CAS. You know how to do it. It's going to be very important in questions like this. Next example, we have some investment starting with 50K. Every year it goes up by 8%. And we want to know how long it takes to get to this value and this value. So right away we know that we are going to use this formula that helps us find some compound interest related things. And for the first question, we know the end amount, we want it to be this. So we write it. This is what we want. And we know it's going to equal to the P, which is the principal, which is the amount that you start with, times 1 plus, now 8%. We can't write it as just 8 like that. We need to write it as 8% in decimals like this, to the power of n. So we don't know what n is. That's what we're looking for. Once again, this is a CAS type question. You should write the whole thing, do the solve function on the CAS, and you'll get your n value equaling 5.2627. So Some of you might think, okay, so that's closer to 5. So it's 5 years is the answer, roughly 5 years. That would be incorrect. Just because what this means is that a little bit after 5 years, so slightly after 5 years, the investment reaches this value. So at 5 years, it wouldn't have happened because this happens every year. So at 5 years, we're not quite there. So the earliest time it will be that value will be the 6th year. So the answer should be 6 years. So you got to think about the context of the question in these types of questions and think about what to round to. Alright, the next question, it's very similar. Now only the value here is 100,000. But the rest are the same. We're starting with the same amount. Has the same interest rate. We're asked to find the time as well. Again, it's the CAS problem. So put it into your CAS. It should give us around 9.996. Actually, if I round to 2 decimal places, it'll be this. So again, you might think, oh, it's very close to 9 years. So surely it happens at 9 years. No, what this means is that right at 9 years, it hasn't happened. Your investment hasn't reached this value yet. So it has to happen at 10 years. So the answer is 10 years is when it will happen.